We're Student Quote. Throughout this video, we're going to be explaining our plan, identifying the different parts of our robots, listing some challenges we had to face throughout this process, and showing you how our robot will function.
So our initial plans for the robot were designed similar to this one. It's a bit hard to tell exactly what it is because we did very rough drafts of it. But the idea was that we had the platform that the piece was set on, and that was able to move front and back and left to right. And so it would be able to tell what the piece was using a color sensor, and then it would have the color reflect values of all the different pieces, whether or not they were red or green. And sorry, it is in French, but no, and then it would have all these different numbers roughly out there, and then we would be able to tell what the piece was made out of, and determining the color of the piece is very simple. It's just red or green. I don't remember exactly what the numbers are for those, but that's pretty self-explanatory. So we would determine what the piece was, and then it would move according to what the color sensor read into the correct position, and then it would push it off. The reason why we did not keep this plan was because it would be very difficult to have the piece land properly into the square, and we couldn't figure out how to make it all work with only the 3 motors that we have access to. So we scrapped that idea relatively quickly, and then we came up with this idea here. It's a bit more organized and systematic. But the first step is the exact same as for the old plan. The color sensor would tell what the piece is using the color reflect values and the color of the object. And then it would push down onto a ramp and into a little chute. And then a motor would turn a piece of Lego that would send the piece down the green chute or the red chute. And then after that, it would go into relatively the same kind of idea, except slightly more complicated. And so if the piece was plastic, the chute would face directly downwards, and that would drop it into the plastic section. If it was made out of wood, then it would have turned to the left, and then it would have dropped there. And if it was made out of steel, it would have turned to the right, and then it would have dropped there. The reason why we scrapped this idea is for similar reasons to the first plan that we had. We thought that it would be very difficult to land it into the correct areas, and if it did not land directly into the square, then the piece would not count. So we tried to do a slightly different plan, and we like our idea that we have right now, and you'll be seeing it later on during the video.
Oh, this is our program, okay? So we start off first, we got the play button, right? Go through, and we have our if statement. The color sensor will sense it if it's red. If yes, comes up, and you makes this a noise of red. It says red. And then another one, and we go by color reflection. So color reflection of 30, it goes up, and we move the big motor, brings a big chain around, and it will slowly move throughout. And it will bring it, and then we will drop it down. If it has a color reflection of 25, do the same thing. Of 32, it will do the same thing. Just if none of those actually work, it will make a noise and it says no, so we know that our program has completely failed. But if it does not censor red, it censors and it finds out it's green, and then it doesn't censor anything there. It just says no again. And if it does censor something, and it's color reflection of 2, it's going to move around and it's going to drop into the right box. And then colors reflection of 3 does the same thing, of 1 does the same thing. And after that is completed, it will say power down, so we know the program is finished, and that's how it works.
Okay, so this is our robot. Essentially the idea for it was you would put a piece on here in front of the color sensor. The color sensor would detect the color and the material. The color based upon, well, it's a color sensor, so the color reflection, and it would detect the material based upon light reflection. If it was metal, it would reflect a lot of light, wood, very little, and plastic, somewhere in between. Based upon that, if it were green, it would move to where the green is, so to this end of our platform. And if it's made of metal, wood, or plastic, depending on which one we have, the motors would rotate this platform to line up the actual material with the chute. From there, once it's lined up, we would have this, although it's not connected yet, the robot is not yet functional, would kick the piece off and throw it down a little chute, which is also not yet developed, onto the piece, and then rinse and repeat up until we have all the different pieces lined up.
We're Student Quote, and that's our robot.